فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين صدق الله العظيم. Surah An-Nahl of the Quran. And we sent down the book on thee, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, that this book might explain all things. Glory be to him who took his servant by night from this sacred masjid built by Ibrahim alayhi salam on the foundations of the spot where Adam alayhi salam had worshipped. This masjid was in the Torah. They took it out. Took him by night from this masjid on a miraculous journey to that masjid, that distant one built by Sulaiman alayhi salam. Alladhi barakna hawla, which was located in a land which we had blessed. And he went and he broke up the idols. And they decided to punish him. And they threw him into the fire. Allah is pleased when a young man stands up courageously for the truth. Allah ordered the fire, be cool for Ibrahim and keep him safe. And we took him and his nephew Lut alayhi salam to a land in which we had placed blessings for all of mankind. But when he reached in that holy land, he is tested. Take the mother and take the baby. Take them out there in the desert and leave them there. No food, no water, no shelter, no security. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders him, sacrifice your son. What? I didn't hear that. Sacrifice your son. Oh no. Religion must conform to reason. And this is irrational. Argues, of course, Iblis, scratching his head. So the great logician named Iblis, he disobeyed Allah. But not Ibrahim alayhi salam. He said, when once you know it is the word of Allah, whether you understand it or you don't, whether you are comfortable with it or you're not, you must submit to it. That is Islam. And so they'll change the religion to make it conform with the requirements of the modern age. They will subject the verses of the Quran to what they call a progressive interpretation, so that it can conform with the requirements of the modern, godless age. But not Ibrahim alayhi salam. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam has passed every test. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses him. Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. I hereby appoint you as the imam of all of mankind, including George Bush. Now we leave the Holy Land for a while. And we go to Banu Israel, who lived from the seed of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Holy Land until Yusuf alayhi salam is taken out of the well by the travelers. Are you shaking your heads? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Taken out of the well and taken to Egypt and sold, oh no, not to Egypt, sorry, taken to Misr, because they're not the same, you know. Even Egyptians don't know that. Taken to Misr and sold in slavery in Misr. And then he becomes the prime minister. And then his family come to live with him. So Banu Israel are now in Misr, which is the eastern delta. But then some things occur which eventually led to their being enslaved in Egypt. And for that you're going to have to invite me to come and lecture on the subject of Ashura in the Quran. Ashura in the Quran, to know why were Banu Israel enslaved in Egypt. We don't have the time to take that up. And then Allah raised Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam took them over into freedom across the sea. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرِ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. So they crossed the Red Sea. And now they are in Sinai. Sinai, not the hospital in Manhattan. The desert. And then Musa alayhi salam went up the mountain, came back down with the Torah, the 10 Commandments, stone tablets. And then Musa alayhi salam addresses Banu Israel, and this is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. I suggest you get the tape recording. No, you have the book now. And every single ayah of the Quran I quote, you go and find it in the Quran and study it. Musa alayhi salam says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, he says, يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم إلى آخر الآية. O my people, come on, let us enter, fight and take control of the Holy Land which Allah gave to you. Did you hear that? The Quran declares that Allah gave the land to the Jews or to Banu Israel. Well, then how come we don't hear the state of Israel talking about that? How come the New York Times doesn't publish that as a headline? Why are they so afraid of the Quran? And why don't you use the Quran to wage the terrific battle against them? وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا, says Allah. Wage a mighty struggle against them using the Quran. That's what He has ordered us to do. The reason why they will not quote the Quran is because they don't want the attention of mankind to be directed towards the Quran, because the Quran will expose their fraud. Yes, Allah gave the land to them, but the grant of the land was not unconditional. It was conditional. What were the conditions? وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. أن الأرض, which أرض? الأرض المقدسة. That in order to inherit the Holy Land, you must conform with 2 requirements. Number 1, you must be a servant of Allah. And a servant of Allah will follow the Imam appointed by Allah and would follow the religion of that Imam. So you must follow the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And condition number 2, you have to be righteous in your conduct. When Musa alayhi salam ordered them to come on and let's fight, when they learned that there were powerful people living in the land, you know the story of Goliath, they said, no, we're not going. We're not going. You and your Lord, both of you go and fight. We go stay right here. For us, it's something difficult to stomach. When the Lord has just performed this miracle before your very eyes, وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ, He parted the sea for you and saved you and destroyed Fir'aun and his army before your very eyes. And when that Nabi who led you to freedom is still there in your midst, and that you should respond with such insolence, It is something beyond comprehension. So maybe now we can begin to understand the nature of the problem that we're dealing with in the world today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who had given the Holy Land to them, now puts a bar. He bans them from entering into the Holy Land for how long? How long? How long? 12 years? 40 years. Good. You don't mind my questioning you? You don't fall asleep? 40 years. So here is evidence, plain as daylight for every Jew to understand and accept, that although the land was given to him, he is now debarred from entering. Why? There's only one answer to that question. He has violated the conditions of inheritance. But someone changed the word of Allah. And every time you change the word of Allah, you plant an evil seed. And one day, it's going to come back at you. It will grow into an evil tree, and ain't nobody can cut it down. They changed the word of Allah. You will find this in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran. You'll also find it in my previous book, The Religion of Abraham and the State of Israel, a view from the Quran. What did they do? They wrote into the Torah with their own hands. What did they write? It is not because of righteousness that the Lord your God has given you this good land to inherit it. No, not because of your righteousness. For you are a stiff-necked people. And so it's because of the righteousness of your forefathers, indicating that righteousness is not a condition for you to continue to inherit the Holy Land. And so the land is yours unconditionally. The land is yours whether you are righteous or you're wicked. The land is yours whether you follow the religion of Abraham or you don't. It is still your land. That was an evil seed, and it grew into an evil tree called the Zionist movement. And the Zionist movement is exploiting it to the hilt. And the Jew who can see can do nothing about it. And of course there are some Jews who can see, Not all of them are one-eyed. But there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing they can do about it. It's too late now.
Our fight is not with guns. Our fight is to wake up people and to make them think. We believe strongly that the state of Israel will come to an end. We have God on our side.
Do you deliver flyers like this to make more and more people aware of your existence?
Not of my existence, of the existence of the Torah. We are the Naturkaart, guardians of the city. We try to guide people what is the right way in Judaism. Like if the woman going dressed not so modest, or there's some shops where they sell things not in the Jewish style, we call them, look, please stop it. You're not allowed here in our neighborhood. Of course, sometimes they get angry, but they understand that in the end of the day, we are right. If you don't like it, okay, it goes to other places. Nobody forced him to live here. I feel it for my duty in my life to teach people in the right way.
How come so few people know about you guys?
How often did you see people like me? People like me you can see in the cartoons. But in the media you don't see people like me. So how you expect people to know what is the views of these Jews?
Yeah, what does it say?
Here is just a crown, that means the crown of the Torah. And here is just the beginning of each, the 10 Commandments.
Does the state of Israel break any of the 10 Commandments?
The 6th, don't kill. The 8th, don't steal. The basic of the Jewish religion is to trust God. If God sends us in exile, stay in exile. We have to wait for the coming of Messiah. Tomorrow going to be a demonstration against the state of Israel. We participate in these demonstrations to bring out our message, to show for the world that Jews and Zionists are not the same thing. I mean, when you look, who is the real Jew? Look of me, and look of him. He don't look as a Jew at all. He don't keep the Shabbos. He have no problem with Shabbos like I have. He don't walk to the protest 3 hours. He just coming by the car and park it on the side. And he say, oh, I'm a religion Jew.
Which means they're an extreme ultra-Orthodox Jewish group. They're the same as ISIS really in religion. They're not considered amongst the Jews to be Jews because they take it to such an extent, and they have a very, very, very bad reputation. They go beyond normality. I mean, if they could, they would strap bombs around themselves and blow each other.
Calling you guys extremists.
They can call whatever they want. Everybody can say if anybody, he's an extremist. Everybody can say that.
They compared you to people who would happily strap bombs on themselves, which I thought was quite interesting.
Okay. Nobody here, nobody with these protests are coming out with support for violence.
Okay.
Nobody.
We do what we need to do. We know God runs the world and God has advised us what's our duty to do.
I went to the army and I lost people there.
You lost people for nothing.
No, why I lost for nothing? For a country that's your country.
No, we are not willing to die for a country which is forbidden according to the Jewish people.
You're unbelievable. Mashiach not going to come for you guys.
So Mashiach is going to come for you.
No,
yeah? You know what Jewish at all.
You're Jewish.
Yes, we're Jewish.
You're not allowed to be Jewish. You can't be Jewish.
The illegal occupation is not supported by Jesus.
There are people who do feel that you are legitimizing violence by burning flags and who will also really take offense.
It is violent only if it brings violence. It's only a symbol to show total opposition, especially for our youth, to show them this goes in deep, deep into their heart. If we are not enjoying fighting, and of course we are not enjoying burning a flag, but this is, we do what we have to do, we do what's our duty.
Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eventually allowed them to enter into the Holy Land after 40 years. And Dawood alayhi salam establishes the state of Israel, the first Islamic state, and establishes Jerusalem as the capital of the first Islamic state. And he is succeeded by his son Sulaiman, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. And he builds the masjid in the capital city of the Islamic State. But after the death of Sulaiman alayhi salam, then there was rivalry. We don't have the time, I'm afraid, to go into those details. But I mentioned to you last December when I was here a very interesting book that you might want to read. It's entitled, Who Wrote the Bible? Who Wrote the Bible? It was written by an American scholar of the Bible who is recognized for his scholarship, professor of Harvard. His name is Richard Friedman, and the book is sold for about $11, $12. In that book, Richard Friedman exposes for you all the fraud in the Bible, in the Torah, the rewriting of the Torah so many times. He's able to identify this writer, he wrote this passage and that passage and that passage and that passage. And this second writer, he wrote this passage and this passage and that passage. By comparing the writing, the style of the writing. He also explains why this rewriting of the Torah takes place. Because of rivalry between the descendants of Harun alayhi salam and the descendants of Musa alayhi salam. One of the things which were rewritten, of course, concerns the, you don't mind my mentioning it? Huh? The prohibition of riba. You still don't mention? Don't mind? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had prohibited riba in the Torah. They changed the Torah. They rewrote it. The Torah now says, you can find it, go look in it, you'll find it, it's still there. It is haram for a Jew to lend money on interest to another Jew. Rabbi, can you tell me why? Answer, don't rip off your own brother. That's why. It is haram for a Jew to lend money on interest to another Jew. But it is halal, he can lend money on interest to those who are not Jews. It's called double standards. It's called double standards. And it stinks. When I speak on the subject Islam and the international monetary system, which will be at Lakemba, I think, Wednesday, Blacktown, I hope it's not too far away. Good. When I speak, this is a very, very important subject, and you'll be hearing it in Australia for the first time. Islam and the international monetary system. Then you're going to hear some more on this subject. Because of this change they've made in the Torah concerning riba, among other things, they have now violated the condition of righteous conduct. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to this. In Surah to Bani Israel, He refers to this as fasad. Fasad is corruption. This is the corruption of the word of Allah. وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ فِي الْكِتَابِ لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًا كَبِيرًا. That we recorded it in the Torah, in the Zabur, in the Torah, that Banu Israel will commit fasad in the land, yani al-Ardul Muqaddasa, in the Holy Land, on 2 occasions. This is the first one. When the word of Allah is rewritten, corrupted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to it by sending an army from Babylon. So these ibad are sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they destroy the state of Israel. And they destroy the masjid. And they take Banu Israel into slavery in Babylon. And so now they're weeping by the rivers of Babylon. While they're out there in Babylon, however, a very important communication from Allah which explains history, which explains politics, which explains the economy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a prophet, Isaiah. He sends many other prophets, but this one in particular, to communicate a divine promise. What is the promise? That Allah was going to send a prophet to Banu Israel, who would be their prophet and who would be known as Al-Masih, the Messiah, and who, when he comes, will rule the world from the throne of Dawood alayhi salam with a rule which will be eternal.